Hello, beautiful friends, and welcome to my series about Venus in all 12 houses. Thank you for journeying with me with this series. Now, you'll find as you watch this video that it is divided into two parts. The first section of the video is exploring the nature of Venus mythologically, astronomically, and of course, astrologically. So all those components will be explored here through a video that I did some years ago when I was a lot younger that was talking about all these things. So I've inserted that piece into this video for you to enjoy. But if you're here just to find out about the houses, then you can skip to the second part of the video, which is exploring the effects of beautiful Venus in each house of the horoscope. So I do hope you enjoy both components and get something out of it that can apply to your life. May I also encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to check out the lead video in this series, which is looking at Venus karmically and through an evolutionary astrology or karmic astrology lens to ascertain how Venus affects our relationships based on the journey of our soul over many lifetimes. This is a fantastic video. I'm actually quite chuffed about it, quite proud of it. So I do hope you have the time to go to the lead video in this series in the playlist and check out that video all about karmic Venus and its influence. And now, without any further ado, let us dive into the mythology, the astronomy, and the astrology of the beautiful planet in the night sky, Venus. So I thought I'd start by taking a little bit of a peek at what Venus actually represents. Now, in astronomy, not astrology, but in astronomy, the astronomy of the planet Venus, she's the only planet that can shine so brightly that she can cause shadows on Earth. Now, the moon does as a reflection of the sun's light. We know that happens. You can be out on a very strong moonlit night and see shadows and play of light that's actually quite beautiful. But the only planet that can do this is actually Venus, interestingly enough. And so sometimes she is just so bright in the sky. She's the brightest entity in the sky aside from the sun and moon. Sometimes she can be so bright that she causes shadows. That's only occasionally, but she can do it. One thing about Venus is that she rotates so slowly in the sky that she takes 234 Earth days to do one single rotation. As such, she actually has the slowest rotation of any planet in the whole solar system. And she is the hottest planet in the solar system. Even though Mercury is closer to the sun, due to the dense clouds of sulfur dioxide on planet Venus, any heat from the sun is trapped within those clouds and her thin atmosphere, causing the heat of the planet to be just so much hotter than Mercury, even though Mercury is in much closer proximity. So she is the hottest planet in the solar system as well. And of course, those of us who did our grade 5 astronomy lessons know that Venus sits as the second planet in the solar system, the second planet from the sun. You've got the sun, and then you've got Mercury, and then there's Venus, and then Earth. And she is considered also to be something of a sister planet to the Earth, as they're similar in size. So she's the nearest planet to Earth, and that's why she shines so brightly in the sky, not the star. Now, the mythology of Venus is also very interesting. The name Venus is the ancient Roman name for the goddess of love and beauty. In Greek, it was Aphrodite. So in Greco-Roman mythology, they share similar characteristics and similar qualities. So both Aphrodite and Venus, they governed fertility, romance, prosperity, and victory as well, interestingly. She was worshipped in many temples and many festivals all throughout Rome and as Aphrodite in Greece. And some people, including Julius Caesar, even considered her to be the ancestor of the Roman people. Of course, he'd attach himself to somebody as glorious as Aphrodite or Venus, wouldn't he? Now, some mythological legends say that Venus was the daughter of the gods Zeus and Dione, There are some other legends, though, that say that she was birthed from the sea, not from a god itself, but birthed from the sea after Uranus was castrated by his son Saturn. So essentially, to get kind of gross here, hope you've got the M rating on this particular video, but Saturn castrated his father Kronos in mythology, otherwise known as Uranus, and from that castrated member that fell to earth into the oceans of Gaia, the earth, there arose out of the sea foam of that dismemberment the goddess Venus. So fascinating mythology there. I do want to talk a little more about the mythology of Venus, but at a later point, where we look at her mythology around being the morning and the evening star. So I'm going to explore that for you. Stay tuned for a little bit later in the video for that aspect of her mythology. But in astrology, Venus tells us about our enjoyment of pleasurable and beautiful things. She tells us about our love relationships, our connections with others. The things we need to live a comfortable life are also seen from Venus in a tangible sense. You know, our shoes, our clothes, our food, our cars, our shelter, all those nice, lovely things that we like to acquire to make life more comfortable for us. So wherever Venus sits in our chart is going to tell us all about how we interact with these ideas: love, beauty, pleasure, possessions, things we need to support our journey through life, refinement, sophistication, and women as well, seen through Venus, particularly young women. So wherever Venus sits in the chart, whatever sign, is going to tell us a lot about the dynamic that we have with those elements. Venus rules the sign of Taurus and Libra, and they're both very different signs, but they do, both of them carry a quality of beauty about them, a quality of pleasure, a quality of interaction and relationship. I'll compare the two of them for you just so that you know the great gamut of characteristics that Venus actually rules. Taurus is this very earthly, natural beauty. Taurus correlates to the natural realm of Earth, and so butterflies essentially, but also forests and, you know, generally speaking, the things of nature like the animals and the flora, fauna, and, you know, rivers and lakes and mountains and just the earth and being in nature is Venus in a general sense. Venus also correlates through Taurus to money, making money, the tangible things, like I said before, that we need to support our journey through life, like pleasurable things, yummy food, going out to a restaurant and eating at a lovely food, and clothing, shopping, beauty therapies, beauty treatments. These are seen through the sign of Taurus and Venus's rulership of the sign of Taurus. It's also self-love that we associate with the energy of Taurus as well. The ability to feel safe, to be secure, is seen through Taurus. Venus rules Libra as well. Now Libra, as opposed to Taurus's type of beauty, which is that natural, earthy kind of beauty, we might think, something we want to touch, something we want to hug, something we want to be close to and be a part of even. We might even compare it to, say, the beauty of Marilyn Monroe, which, you know, men wanted to hold her, women wanted to be her. There is this desirability factor with the beauty of Marilyn Monroe, very Taurian. Not so much natural, she was bleached blonde and everything, but she had that desirability, sensuality factor of Taurus. Libra, on the other hand, is more the Grace Kelly type of beauty. You just admire it. My God, it's breathtaking. Look how beautiful and elegant she is. That's Libran beauty. It's not so tactile. It's not so touch focused. It is more, let's say, adoration focused. So it's that kind of sophisticated, classic, refined beauty that we see through the sign of Libra, also ruled by Venus. Libra is also ruled by Venus, and it covers things like diplomacy, fairness, equality, making harmony and balance a priority. It's the peacemaker. It's like I said, harmonizing situations, harmonizing interactions between people. All these are seen through the sign of Libra, and Libra rules relationships. Not just the tactile, sensual, let's get down to the nitty-gritty kind of stuff of Taurus, but more the I love you, I'm committed to you, beyond the touch, taste, see, hear, and smell. I am in a love, intimacy bond with you, we see through the sign of Libra that Venus rules. It's also business partnerships. It's quite a business-oriented sign, Libra. And so it connects to those things as well. And our interactions with the other, anyone else, can be seen. Our relationships are seen through Libra, ruled by Venus. Now, Venus is, if you want to use an archetypal image, she's like this beautiful goddess or a beautiful woman. She is a feminine energy, or an ancient goddess full of this wonderful self-love, because she is very, very connected to the idea of self-love. You must be in love with the self, and then you have something to offer others. All of us, even men, will have Venus in the chart somewhere. And because of this, we have Venus in our hearts. We have a love of beauty somewhere tucked away in us. We have a love of giving love and receiving love to some capacity within us. Venus teaches us to love the beauty in other people, no matter what it looks like, how different it is to us. By really embodying the full self-love component of Venus, we learn to love the beauty in others, whatever that shape that takes, and we allow ourselves to be loved and to be uniquely beautiful as well when we fully embrace the energy and the beauty of Venus. Quite a fabulous, adorable little planet. When Venus is in the 8th house placement, this is very tantric. It gives a person a very mystical sexual aura. The house of the 8th house is more intense. In fact, let me start that sentence again. The houses in astrology are more intense in what the energy they give off than the signs. So this is a position that's even more potent than Venus in the sign of Scorpio. And we know Venus in Scorpio is potent, but Venus in the 8th house is like extra potent, extra intense, because, as I said, the houses are more intense than the signs. So Venus in the 8th house can give very intense relationships. There might be psychological games in relationships that will be happening when you have this placement as well. Now, who is going to have the power in relationships? Who is going to dominate? Well, this is going to be the question. It could be the partner, but it could be you with Venus in the 8th house as well. There might be power games, power struggles happening in relationships here. Venus here can also indicate being turned on, like you're sexually turned on by power. Venus is that desire element, as we said, being turned on by power, being turned on by secretive relationships. Even within marriage, you will enjoy sex in a secretive way, in a private, hidden way. You can be very private, it's a private house, very private about relationships. And there will be a love, because Venus is what we love, a love of discovering secrets about other people's relationships and exploring the details of other people's private lives and affairs too. So as you can imagine, this is a great placement for somebody who becomes a sex therapist or a relationship counselor. Now, Venus is what we love, as I've said. And here you'll love to dig into self-analysis. You will have a strong sense of self-love. You will also be very intrigued by occult topics, tantra, using sex for power, sex for rituals, that kind of thing, can be very, very intriguing for you. How can you use sexual energy to be a source of power? There can be secret business alliances that are possible when you have Venus in the 8th house. It's also the house of our partner's money and resources, and you can receive money from partners, both business and personal, when you've got this placement. There's also a likelihood that you will inherit from a partner too when you have a placement of Venus in the 8th house. It can be an indicator that you can make better money in life when you merge your resources with another person, when you go in cahoots with somebody to generate an income. Now, usually people with a Venus in the 8th house will have a stash of hidden money somewhere. You might like to keep money in a secret spot in case of an emergency. This expression can also be there when you have a Pluto connection with your Venus in some way as well, because Pluto is the associated ruler of the 8th house in Scorpio. Now, Venus is representative of the the girlfriend generally in a man's horoscope, or the women he's attracted to. So here in the 8th house, she might be in an 8th house career, which is a really good manifestation for a man to have. She might be, might be a psychologist. She might be a sex therapist. She might be a spy or somehow involved in deep research in some way. She might be, a mortician or an undertaker. She might be very interested, like even if she's not in a career like this, she might just be very interested in 8th house things, a very obsessive astrologer she might be. With difficult aspects, though, she might be a woman, or a man might be attracted to women who have secrets, or she might be very volatile and unpredictable. This is a house of great change. She might be full of transformation. The girl you get to know might not be the girl who you married to 5 years later. It also is a position that might cause a relationship to start suddenly or end suddenly, because this is a house of very quick effects, quick changes, quick transformations. So suddenly the relationship's over. You didn't even see it coming. So keep that in mind if you're a man with this position. You might meet a partner. This goes for anyone, man or woman. You might meet a partner through 8th house means, maybe in some hidden way or some dangerous or dark type situation. Think about the film Speed with Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock, and how, they fall in love in this high pressure situation of a bus with a bomb on it going to blow up. That's the kind of thing. Some catastrophic situation might bring you together with your true love. Relationships with this placement will often arrive when you're not expecting them, not looking for it, So don't go trying to force anything, because when you've got this position, it's going to come for you when you're, not ready. Now, often covert or difficult circumstances will be present before you're able to announce the relationship publicly. That I've seen this so many times, so many times. For example, I had a client once, and they had this position, and they had to keep their relationship hidden for almost a year due to one of the partners being, going through a divorce from their previous partner. It wasn't an affair that they were having, but when they met, one of the partners was going through a divorce, a very nasty, vicious divorce, and so they had to keep their new relationship hidden, his new relationship hidden, rather than create more unpleasantness for the divorce process. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Secret, hidden marriages are also possible with this placement. It's actually, I would suggest, sometimes it's better to live with somebody without getting married with this placement, sometimes, because of all this upheaval that can come. Sometimes there are love triangles when you've got this placement, not always, but sometimes. And remember, this is similar to a Pluto-Venus interaction as well. So sometimes there are love triangles with maybe secret or hidden partners. Not always, but sometimes. And usually one of the partners will display a need to control, even subtly, and even with sort of, manipulation that's not quite clear. Okay? Sometimes this can mean that you might be the one to manipulate your partner. You want to sort of leverage them into being a better person, or you want to help them change direction in life. Okay? You want to transform, this is a house of transformation, your partner. It's also a placement that can indicate that you will be transformed through this relationship as well. It can also indicate that you will marry somebody who's been married before when you've got a placement like this. Stalkers can be present in your life with this placement. It doesn't have to be, horrific kind of situations, but it could be just a hidden admirer, secret fans, You may never even find out about them. Maybe you've got a YouTube channel and secretly people just adore you and they watch you from, afar. You can be a femme fatale if you are a woman with this placement, sort of a shamanic seductress, when you've got Venus in the 8th house. Physical intimacy is an 8th house thing as well. And that's going to be very important to you in relationships. The relationship might not even feel like it's begun until you are actually able to be physically intimate with a partner. So physical intimacy, very high priority in relationships when Venus is in the 8th house. This placement can be difficult in the more conventional style of relationship. as I've illustrated here. But also be careful if there are bad aspects, because it can indicate that you can receive harm, manipulation, difficulty, jealousy from women in general in your life. If you've got Venus in the 8th house with difficult aspects, women can be enemies to you, or a source of, difficulty, agents of chaos and destruction in your life. Now, all women in your life will have an element of secrecy about them. They might be very private people, for example. They might keep to themselves. They might not reveal everything about themselves in some way. So that can be the case. That's probably a better expression, rather than being, constantly at the hand of destruction from women. So you also may not have many female friends if you're a woman, or a man actually, with Venus in the 8th house. Venus in the 8th house will try to protect itself. And because of that, there's real trust issues with Venus in the 8th house, I have to say. Because of that, you might be very discerning about female friendships. You're not just going to, open your heart to anyone and everyone around you, female-wise. You'll be sifting through your potential friendships very deeply, and only the deepest and most intense friendships will last the distance, will be worth keeping. Again, trust issues very prominent when Venus is in the 8th house. So the 8th house is what can destroy you. And when Venus is here, it can indicate that it is relationships that can destroy you in life, can pull you apart, that can cause tragedy in your life. But equally, relationships will be your source of healing and restoration. Venus in the 8th house means that relationships will be the phoenix being destroyed by relationships, turning to ashes because of relationships. But relationships will also be what breathes new life back into the phoenix bird and helps it rise from the ashes. So you're in for an interesting life journey when you have Venus in the 8th house, or Venus with Pluto in any type of interaction. So, interesting. You might be able to write a book about your love life. Death will come peacefully, because the 8th house is a house of death. And death will come peacefully. Death will be surrounded by love. You will have an easy transition out of the body. And usually your spouse will be beside you when you pass, when Venus is in the 8th house. You could also pass from Venus-ruled things. What are Venus-ruled things? Kidney problems. Overindulgence is a Venus-ruled things. Attacks by women. And amusingly, STDs, in the house of sex, here's Venus, and Venus actually rules STDs. So let's hope that's not the case. Let's hope that for everybody with this placement, they have an easy transition out of the body with their partner beside them, surrounded by love. That is far more preferable for a Venus in the 8th house person.